Welcome back. All right, fourth and final division for today. And once again, Merry Christmas to all who are watching. We will be doing the live stream tomorrow, aiming for 3 o'clock Pacific for the live stream tomorrow. So tune in for that if you are not busy or just feel like coming out and saying, hey. So the New York Rangers lead the Atlantic, and they are 6 points clear of the New York Islanders. And points percentage wise, they're clear of basically everybody in the league. They have a 734 points percentage. They're 23-8-1 on the year. 47 points. And since they're the number one team in the East, they would play the number two wild card in the East, Tampa. So, how fascinating would that be if that ended up being the series? Now, their upcoming schedule, they have a stretch worth 7 out of 10 on the road. The good news is it doesn't matter where the Rangers play. The Rangers are very good at home. The Rangers are very good on the road. They're just excellent all around. So the MVP I went with for the New York Rangers are Artemi Panarin. Panarin's been absolutely fantastic this year for them. I think if I tried to put anybody else up there, I think there would be arguments. If Adam Fox had played the whole year, maybe I could get Fox up there, but I don't think so. I think it's Panarin's team at this point, and if he can continue this run through the full season, it could be quite the postseason for the New York Rangers this year. And then we got the New York Islanders. So this is a throwback for me back to the 80s with the Rangers and the Islanders battling it out for first. The Islanders are 6 points back with 41 points. They have a 16-8-9 record. So the 9 in that third column, it does mean they've lost those games in extra time, but as people say, they're getting points. 621 is the points percentage for them. They have an upcoming stretch with 8 out of 10 on the road. So both the Islanders and the Rangers have an upcoming stretch in January where there's going to be a lot of road games. It's a road-heavy schedule. I went with Noah Dobson for the MVP. I could make the argument for Barzal. I could make the argument for Horvat, for Nelson, for Sorokin, for Varlamov. The Islanders have a number of candidates, but I went with Noah Dobson. I think his development this year into one of the best defensemen in the NHL, it's been fun to watch. And he is. He's legit. And he's getting the minutes. So all of the issues with him being sat out and all the debates about whether or not he was better off being with the Islanders or sent down. Remember back in his rookie year, all that's gone by the wayside. The development's worked out really, really well. So all the naysayers to how he was being developed at this point kind of quiet, and Dobson's been great. Philadelphia, who saw that coming? Philadelphia, 18-11-4 so far this year. They're 7 points out of first in the East. 606 is their points percentage, so they're not far off the New York Islanders. And they're one game into a 5-game road trip, and then they have 4 in a row at home. The Flyers have been quite the story. Maybe the biggest surprise of the year. You have to think that if the voting was today for Coach of the Year, Tortorella would get some votes. He absolutely would. He would get some votes. Now, the MVP I went with for Philadelphia, Travis Konechny. Although there are others that I could make an argument for. Sanheim at points. Couturier bringing back his two-way game has been huge for them, but I went with Travis Konechny. Really good goal scorer who's having a much better season this year than last year, and I think the return of Couturier has helped him as well. I think it's just helped the organization. I think Sean Couturier might be one of the more underrated players in the National Hockey League. So it's kind of surprising I didn't have him for the MVP, but for me, again, I think Konechny so far this year for Philadelphia. Washington, 17-9-5 record, 39 points, 629 points percentage. So, by the points percentage mark, they are ahead of everybody that's not the New York Rangers. But they're currently the number one wild card with their 39 points. But look how close these teams are all packed together. It'd be tough to do a power rankings with this because look how everybody's right next to one another. It's like people could get mad over perceived slates. But yeah, 3 of the next 4 played by the Capitals will be on the road, and then they have 5 in a row at home. So if they can get through those 3 out of 4 on the road, well, the 5 in a row at home, they could really solidify their spot. The Capitals play one of the most bizarre games in the league where they can go long stretches without a shot and win, and then they can have a game where they have a bunch of shots and lose. And I don't know. And again, they're doing it while their number one goal producer isn't really producing goals. So it's been impressive, even if we don't know how they're doing it, other than maybe through their MVP, Charlie Lindgren. I could have tried to pick somebody else, but I would have had to slap myself for it. So it has to be Charlie Lindgren, doesn't it? Now, 1 point out of the playoffs sit the Carolina Hurricanes. They're 17-13-4, 38 points, 559 points percentage. They were supposed to be a contender. They're supposed to be a favorite for the Stanley Cup. And right now, they're on the outside looking in. 4 of their next 5 are on the road. So that's the tough part is their road record's been bad. The good news, if you're a Canes fan, is then they have 11 of their next 12 at home. So again, if they can just fix that road record a little bit in those 4 road games, all of a sudden they have a ton of games at home, and you make hay. Now, last night at home against the Islanders, it didn't work out that way, but again, 11 out of 12. And then a comment that I made earlier, that's where that comes in. You're going to have a 6-game homestand and a 5-game homestand. Do they get into some bad habits being at home? Is there some, I don't know, sometimes teams are at home too long. It's almost like they spoil of it, and so we'll see. But for Carolina, they have to go through that stretch. That's obviously that's a 17-game run there. So that's going to be their season. If they don't have a good run there, that may very well mean no playoffs for them. For the New Jersey Devils, 17-13-2 record, 36 points, 563 points percentage. They're 3 points outside the playoffs, and yet they were my pick to win the Stanley Cup. So here we are. New Jersey, if you're going to get things together and really go on a run, now's a great time. That being said, 6 of their next 9 games are on the road. So they're going to have to do it away from home. The MVP for this team is Jack Hughes. I kind of feel bad for Hughes because it's a tough position to put a player in where they kind of have to drag a team up. And I don't think the scoring's been their issue. I feel like the issue's been the fact they need another goaltender. So even though Vanacek's given them good goaltending at points, so Schmid, they need that true bona fide number 1 goaltender that they do not have currently. And if they can figure that out sooner rather than later, great, but nobody's giving away a starting goaltender for free. So all the John Gibson rumors that are out there, I think he's going to be pricey. Pittsburgh, 15-13-4 record, 34 points, 531 points percentage. So there's only 5 points separating Pittsburgh from Washington in the playoffs, and there's a bunch of teams in between. And of course, we did the Atlantic Division before this, and there's a lot of teams to worry about there too if you're Pittsburgh and you're trying to jump into a playoff spot. They're 5 points out of the playoffs. 3 of their next 4 are at home, and honestly, their schedule over the next month, 6 weeks, pretty balanced. There's no long road trips, no long home stands. It's a pretty balanced schedule, so I don't know if there's going to be a lot of complaints about the schedule, but the MVP for this team has to be Sidney Crosby. A league that keeps getting younger and younger. Crosby seems to get younger too, I guess. But yeah, so 5 points out of the playoffs for Pittsburgh. Would anybody be surprised if they went on a bit of a run? I know I wouldn't be. But the reality is this is a team that's older. While Washington has navigated that a little bit better than Pittsburgh, the other difference between Washington and Pittsburgh is simple. Washington's brought in some of their young kids who are ready, and some of those young players have really helped to bring the record up. Pittsburgh hasn't had that same allowance. They don't have those young players coming up that are quite ready yet, and there were a couple. I know Poulin got hurt before the season started, so it's been a tough go for Pittsburgh in general. And of course, they just acquired Karlsson this past summer, and now they find themselves outside of the playoffs. So we'll see if they can turn it around after this. And what do? I mean, you can't sell at the deadline with Crosby, Malkin, Letang all on long-term contracts. Of course, Karlsson's contract too. I guess you can sell off some of the upcoming unrestricted free agents, but you can't let Gensel go. I don't know how you have that conversation with Crosby. I mean, Crosby knows it's a business and everything, but man, Gensel's fantastic. So anyways, we'll see what they do. Columbus, the one team in this division that I think we can all say, yeah, playoffs are not going to happen. They're 11, 18, and 6 on the season, 28 points. Their points percentage, 400. 11 points back of a playoff spot currently. The upcoming schedule has them with 9 out of 10 on the road upcoming. Not right away, but they do have a stretch where it's 9 out of 10 on the road. That's tough. That's a tough schedule for anybody. And for a team that's 7 games below 500 and having their struggles, it's a tough one. The MVP for Columbus, honestly, this wasn't that difficult for me to come to. Marchenko. To me, Kirill Marchenko has been fantastic. And so that's where I think the MVP lies with this team right now. Although at the end of the season, we may look at that entire line with Chinakhov, Voronkov, and Marchenko and say, you know what, these 3 guys all together, it just works. So we'll see if that's still the case at the end of the season, and if Johnny Gaudreau ends up being the MVP by the end of the season or not. But yeah, for Columbus, it's been another rough year, and I feel bad for Columbus. Talk a lot about how I feel bad for Buffalo, but I feel bad for Columbus too, a team that's been in the league for over 20 years, and they've never been past the second round, and it's too bad. And now this is a team that's taken a step in the lateral direction. Basically, they're the same as they were last year, and they were supposed to be a lot better. So We'll see. But let me know your thoughts. Which teams end up being above the playoff line in this division at the end of the season? Does New Jersey, does Carolina end up jumping up, or nope, they're done, and Philadelphia and Washington are going to get in instead? Let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you've not done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.